Welcome to the Systems Alliance. My name is Jexy, and in this video, we're going to go ahead and check out the news that apparently Zack Snyder has actually finished a cut, his own cut, his original cut of Justice League, and apparently he's showing it to WB execs right now, and who knows, maybe you and I will end up seeing it as well. So it's been a while since I've done a video. I've been pretty swamped with work, and obviously that comes first, but there's been so much news that I haven't necessarily missed, but I definitely haven't been covering. So as I'm like, well, let's see, there's so many stories that I could come back with. What should be the first one? Well, this one caught my eye. My friend actually texted it to me. I'm taking a look at it, and obviously, if you've watched my videos, you know I'm a huge fan of DC Comics. Justice League was really disappointing, not just for me, not just for most people, but financially as well for WB, and what went on in the background was kind of a mess. I mean, it was an absolute disaster. They fired Zack Snyder. They didn't let him go because of his unfortunate situation with his family. They fired him before that happened and tried to cover it up. Brought in Joss Whedon. Oh, okay, well, maybe it'll be like Avengers. Nope, that didn't work out well. It's not what people wanted. And let's be honest, the CGI, absolute disaster. The score, awful. Just the whole color scheme, terrible. Also, the stories. You know, we're talking about the stories here. What happened to Cyborg's story? We never got his backstory. Same with Flash. We only got a bit of his. We know there was a ton more for both of those characters. Apparently, even Jason Momoa said a bunch of his Aquaman stuff got cut out. That I'm almost okay with now because we have the Aquaman movie, which, I mean, hey, you want some Aquaman? He has a whole movie. But we don't have one for Flash. We don't have one for Cyborg. I guess the main point that I'm getting at is that it was a massive disappointment for pretty much anyone involved. I mean, even if you liked it, you wanted it to be better. You wanted it to be more. And we're talking about the Justice League here. Original Superman movie, adjusted for inflation, over $1 billion. Several Batman movies, not adjusted and adjusted for overinflation, over $1 billion. You bring all these characters together, plus one Wonder Woman movie, obviously, you know, that did great. And these characters, they are more iconic than especially many of the Marvel characters when the MCU started out. Definitely more A-list in the Justice League. And yet, it made the least amount of money out of any movie in the DCU, at least, you know, until Shazam. But I mean, that's a character that is definitely not A-list, and that movie was actually really good. I wish that Justice League was as good as Shazam. Anyway, huge disappointment, and ever since then, because of what WB did, because of what the execs did, they basically shortened it to 2 hours so they could get more viewings, which, talk about your all-time backfires. That didn't work. Got less viewings because it was a worse movie. Lord of the Rings made $1 billion. No one cared that it was 3.5 hours long because it was amazing. So I don't know what the execs were thinking. But on top of that, pushing it out to release early when it wasn't finished. Why? So that WB execs could get their bonuses before the AT&T buyout of them took place, in which case you don't need two execs doing the same thing. So they were afraid they were going to lose their jobs. So just, hey, screw all this other stuff. We don't want to make a good movie that will make a lot of money next year. We just want any money right now so we can get our bonus this year. That, of course, begs another question. How could releasing that justify any bonus? There's no way. Point is, absolute disaster. And fans have just been wanting the actual Zack Snyder cut. Everyone's been talking about it pretty much since then, and you would think it would have died down, but yet there's so many stories about it that keep coming up over and over again. You keep hearing stories about that maybe it was screened originally to WB exec, so it does exist. And then you hear, well, none of the video effects were finished or anything like that, so okay, so maybe it wasn't finished? What would I be looking at? Strings on Superman? Or, I mean, I guess it's better than whatever they did with his face in Justice League, but how much finished was it? And then we find out, well, to really finish it, it's going to cost a ton of money. And then when you realize that it would cost a ton of money, and you think about it, you say, okay, well, I guess I can't really blame Warner Brothers for not wanting to invest tens of millions of dollars into something that has already been released, and to theatrically release something that maybe not a lot of people will actually go and see. I mean, who knows? But even if you look at the Star Wars releases, $100 million here or there, but nothing like even the original Justice League movie, which was only a bit over 600 million. Would it even be worth it? Are they going to make the money back on the Blu-ray sales, the digital sales? Is that where they're going to see the money? It's kind of an unknown. As you examine it, you go, okay, I guess we'll probably never see it. But yet, Zack Snyder keeps talking about it. Stars of Justice League keep talking about it. There's other reports of people talking about that it might actually come to exist, and it turns out apparently Zack Snyder has now finished putting together his version of Justice League. Is it 100% effects finished? I can't imagine it is. But then again, if you look at the Donner cut of Superman 2, that actually looks pretty chopped up, and you can tell where scenes aren't quite together, where Christopher Reeve's hair is gelled in one scene and then not in the other. But hey, we look past that and we look for just the story that we were supposed to get, and that is considered the definitive edition of Superman 2. That's the one everyone wants to see. And that one was probably finished even less so than Zack Snyder's cut of Justice League. And the reason I say that is because if you look at the end of Superman 2, the Donner cut, he really did not get to finish the movie. Like, his vision wasn't there. They never finished filming those parts, whereas I think in the Snyder cut for Justice League, they may have. So the story comes from WeGotThisCovered.com. And maybe you haven't heard of that website. Maybe you're wondering, well, how legitimate is this particular rumor? You know, I've been hearing stuff about the Zack Snyder cut forever. Why would this particular one be true? And obviously, that's a pretty legitimate question. And the reason that they have decided to publish it and I have decided to believe it is because the sources that are telling them this news are the same ones that told them Jonah Hill will be in the next Batman movie, that Robert Pattinson will be the next Batman, and that Black Adam will be in Shazam 3. So if all these things keep coming true, then why wouldn't we believe this particular piece of news if it's the same people? So the word is that Zack Snyder has re-edited Justice League, he's touched it up, and currently he's trying to get it into a releasable state. Even if it's just Superman 2, the Donner cut quality, I'm pretty sure most fans will take that over what we ended up getting in the theaters. And so I guess right now he's waiting on WB execs to give him the green light. Why would they do that when they kind of made a mess of the original Justice League? They've obviously changed their tune since then. And you could tell just with, say, like they say, the new Joker movie. That's not even in the DCU. What's even going on with that? And you could even see in, say, the Shazam movie. Sure, Superman is there at the end. Is it Henry Cavill? No, it's not. It looks like him, but there's a reason why they don't show his face. Because it wasn't actually him. They don't really know what's going on with the universe in general. You hear stuff about Ezra Miller. He's not going to be back as the Flash. And then you find out, oh, well, he's working on his own script for the next Flash movie. You know, what is going on? From what it sounds like, because Aquaman was a success, Wonder Woman was a success, Shazam was another great movie. The solo movies clearly, when directors are given their leeway to do what they want, are better than when Warner Brothers sticks their hands in and tries to muddle with Suicide Squad. We all know how that turned out. Batman v Superman, same thing. And Justice League. Whether or not you like the Zack Snyder darkness, the ultra realism, the somewhat scary nature of it, with, I guess you could argue, how many people are dying, even though it's not how many people, it's the way they're showing it. In Avengers, obviously, New York City gets attacked. The second Avengers movie, Age of Ultron, obviously a bunch of people die in that city. They don't really show it. You just find out later that it happened. And obviously, if you're watching it, you would assume it had to have happened. Whereas in Man of Steel, you see these buildings coming down, you're on ground level with the people. It's a much different feeling. It seems like more of a disaster movie than just a fun superhero movie, but it's also realistic what would happen if two superhuman beings fought each other. Regardless of all that, whether or not you like Zack Snyder's vision of where the DCEU, or whatever they're calling it now, is supposed to be, you can't argue that they should have at least given him the right to continue with the vision. They hired him on for that specific reason. You know, they wanted it to be like The Dark Knight was, with that ultra realism. Those were huge successes. So they got Zack Snyder, after what they saw with Watchmen, to come in and do it. And he did exactly what they wanted him to do. The problem is that the WB execs keep changing their mind every 2 minutes, and then they decide, well, maybe we don't want that. And once they started messing around with stuff, that's when things got bad. You could argue maybe you don't like the Zack Snyder style, but what we're getting in the movies where superheroes are teaming up, I think that's worse. So personally, I am looking forward to seeing this Zack Snyder cut of Justice League. We've heard about it forever. Release the Snyder cut. That hashtag is still going strong on Twitter. You would think it would have died by now, but it hasn't, because apparently there's enough people who knew out there, including Zack Snyder, that this was something that people wanted, that this is something that people should be seeing, and this is something that people would be excited about. And I think Warner Brothers is finally starting to realize, you know what? Maybe everyone else is right. Maybe we're wrong. Maybe we went about it the wrong way. Which, hey, if that's really what they're thinking, good on them. But right now, super excited to hear this news. Let me know your thoughts. Are you excited to see the Zack Snyder cut? Do you really want it to be released? Are you over it? Are you just looking towards the future? Are you not interested at all anyway? Like, hey, they released that in theaters, that's what it's supposed to be. And in which case, you probably don't like the Star Wars re-releases anyway, although I guess I couldn't argue with you there. However, in this particular instance, I think this is something that should be released because it was the original artistic form that was supposed to have been out there and not what the studio just chopped up and made into a Frankenstein movie. So let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, hit me up on Twitter, and we'll catch you next time.